Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. I'm Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister here at Sunshine Cathedral.
I am Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin, the Executive Minister. Faith and religion can be complicated for the LGBTQ+ community. Surveys show that evangelical faith is the justification for the greatest attacks on the LGBTQ+ community.
I am Reverend Kevin Tisdall, the Minister of Education. The Queer God Squad is going to explore our religious community. Let's explore the big news of the day and what it means to you.
Surveys show that religious faith and church are the main causes of trauma in the LGBTQ+ community. At Sunshine Cathedral, we're here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Senate Republicans block right to Contraception Act amidst religious liberty claims. Senate Republicans have blocked the passage of the Right to Contraception Act, which aimed to establish access to contraceptives as a legal right. Despite falling short of the 60-vote threshold required to bypass a filibuster, the bill garnered support from Democrats, but faced strong opposition from at least 22 GOP senators. Republicans raised concerns over religious liberty and falsely claimed that the bill would provide contraceptives to children. However, Democrats countered these arguments, emphasizing that the legislation aimed to protect access to contraception, including condoms, hormonal birth control, and vasectomies, without imposing requirements on healthcare providers or employers. Critics of the bill argue that access to contraception is already guaranteed by law, with health insurers mandated to offer it at no cost. However, Democrats stress the importance of enshrining this right in legislation, especially in light of potential challenges to past Supreme Court rulings like Griswold v. Connecticut, which established the right to contraception. While the bill failed to pass, the debate underscores the ongoing battle over reproductive rights and the role of government in ensuring access to essential healthcare services. Y'all better pay attention. The European Union, the European Parliament, just took a hard swing right very recently. Some will say that's a bit of an overstatement, that the extreme left and extreme right both made some gains at the center hold. Nevertheless, the extreme right made gains. I don't know if that portends anything here in the U.S. Generally, we don't pay much attention to Europe or think that anybody really has anything to teach us. But sometimes trends rightward are global. Mm-hmm. Ronald Reagan and Maggie Thatcher and John Paul II and the Ayatollah Khomeini all happened within about a 2-year span. Mm-hmm. They just came over the most right-wing elements of these places, and the world then followed a very hard shift to the right. And we've never really gotten back. I mean, it's shifted left and right, but never left enough to even get back to what the center used to be ever since. And so I don't know how many more shifts right we can afford before, liberty is just a fairy tale that, we tell our kids that maybe one day you'll have some freedom and liberty and equal rights. So we need to take this very seriously. We do need every protection we get enshrined in legislation, because not only did we learn that your right to contraception can be challenged, we recently have learned 2 years ago with Dobbs that your right to bodily autonomy can be taken away, or at least delegated to the states. Well, if I'm not as free in Oklahoma as I am in Oregon, I'm not free. That you can't be a citizen of one country but only have freedoms in parts of it. And so I don't care what our family traditions have been, what our family's politics had been. I don't care if we are interested in politics or not. I don't care who you think maybe has a slightly better economic plan or slightly better for the military or whatever. We're talking about people's lives right now. We're talking about your right to exist, your right to marry, your right to have ownership of your own body, your right to have contraception, your right to have medical coverage. We're the only major country in the world that does not guarantee universal health care. So we need to, and we can't trust the courts to protect rights that we gained from battles in the past. That's what we learned from Dobbs, that courts can change their minds. And courts can swing right and left. What we need right now is legislation to protect everybody. To get that legislation, we have to vote good people into office. And to vote good people into office, we have to vote in the first place. Knowing that, they will make it more difficult for us sometimes. And we just have to push past that and get there anyway, vote anyway, because it really is down to the wire, I think, in lots of ways.
Yes.
And we can't sit this one out, and we can't just hope that someone else is going to fix it for us. 40 years of that has gotten us in a very different, the climate doesn't have 4 more swings right left. I don't think it has 1 more swing right left. LGBTQ plus rights don't have 2 or 3 swings right left. Women's reproductive freedom doesn't have any left because they've already lost it. And so if we want to become a compassionate, caring, sane nation that protects our environment for generations to come, and that protects equal rights and equity for every single person, and cares that every single person has a roof over their head and food and clean water and clean air and access to medical care. If we care, if we want to be that country, this is not the time to set out.
No.
This might be the time to decide if that kind of country is even possible after this. So register and vote.
You know, you're saying that, it goes back to Selma, Bloody Sunday, John Lewis. I didn't bleed on this bridge to not for people to get and vote. And so just echoing that, looking at the group who blocked this, we just need to be really close attention that this is not the last thing that they're going to block when it comes down to rights. And so I think, again, it's a matter of looking to the future. If you want a better future, the only way you can ensure that is get out and vote. Your party may or may not win, but at least you vote. This is not a chance to sit at home and say, somebody else will take care of this, or this will right itself, or whatever. We got to get out and start making a difference. And this is one of those reminders that your vote can make a difference. And if we don't do it now, we may have a different story to tell later.
I give kudos to Chuck Schumer for bringing this to the Senate floor. He knew that this was not going to pass right now, but he also understood that he needed to make sure that Americans knew where their politicians stood. It was extremely important for the party to bring forward the bill, because later on, the Republicans will be saying, well, no, it's already enshrined in legislation. It's already safe. We know how that works in conversations.
It's settled law.
Settled law. That was where I'm getting ready to go to right now, where at least 3 current Supreme Court justices were asked questions about things like a woman's right to choose what to do with her body. And all of them said that phrase. It's settled law. We're not going to mess with settled law. We know that that's garbage because another Supreme Court justice who's been there since the dawn of time, it seems, has already said that we really need to look at the legislation or the rulings that protected contraception. He said that. He said that he wants to look at the ruling that codified same-sex marriage. So don't listen to their words, the politicians, that is. Listen to the deeds that they do. Listen and see what they are actually doing, and you will find that they don't like you at all. Now, a politician will take credit for things that they voted against. Imagine that. We've got politicians that are running for re-election that are embracing all of the infrastructure legislation that went through that they voted against. They are going out there telling people how much they want to make sure that children are fed. Meanwhile, they vote against summer lunch programs. So don't listen to their words, watch their votes. And thank you, Chuck Schumer, for reminding us that votes count. Thank you, Reverend Dr. Durrell, for reminding every single one of us that we have a responsibility to register. We have a responsibility to vote. I registered to vote for the first time when he was a mere tyke back in 1973. And I have never missed a general election. I missed one school board election, and I still slap myself. I remember. I believe that the one thing that we have that is sacred is our vote. Don't ever let somebody tell you your vote doesn't count, because if your vote didn't count, they wouldn't be going after it as hard as they do.
That's a true story. That is a true story. I've often heard people say it doesn't matter. I'm not going to vote because it doesn't matter. Or, well, give me something to vote for. Is survival worth voting for? And and I hate the way that children are politicized. Everything we do, every mean thing is for the children. If you want to protect children from drag performers, but not from being hungry in the summer, or not from inheriting a planet that is too hot to live on, you're not interested in children. You're not interested. Drag queens pose no threat to children, and yet climate change and hunger really do. And so I'm tired of the mendacity. I'm tired of the hypocrisy. I'm tired of the needless contention. Why would we ever need to fight over whether or not to feed kids? We can fight over should the military be this big or this big. But yeah, let's feed our kids. That should be so simple. Let's protect the planet because it's the only one we got. That should be so simple. Now the fight is how do we do it, but not does it need to be did. Right. So it's gotten silly. It's got out of hand, and we've got to take our power back.
Yes.
And all we have to do that is vote. Because even if it's even close, they've already shown us. They'll just say that somehow it was magically stolen, even though there's 17 safeguards against it, even though it's certified by people in their own party that know there were no shenanigans. They will just make up it was stolen. That gives them the right then to act out and to storm the Capitol. And then 4 years later, there are still hearings and court cases about it because there were so many, it takes that long to sort through it. And so we've seen what can happen. They can take away your rights that were settled law. They can deny the result of a close election, even if it's not super close. And they can act out with violence if they don't like the turnout. And every time you get away with something, then you're emboldened to go that much farther. They got away with Dobbs. Oh, please know they've got 10 more on the list to try now.
Yes.
And so we can talk about it, we can complain about it, we can pray about it, we can kvetch about it, and none of that matters. But we can vote. And even if in the end I can't believe that there are more people who are insane than sane in this country, but I've been wrong so many times. But even if we lose, I would rather lose a fight than be dominated, taken over, abused without one. And so, and this fight is simple. This fight doesn't require violence. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require genius. All you have to do is show up and cast a vote. And if you don't trust the system that they've got set up, you can demand a paper ballot. And if you mail in your ballot, that's guaranteed a hand filled out paper ballot. So yes, they may make it hard, but we can be resilient enough to get past that. And if you'll just show up and vote, it doesn't have to be any scarier or any more problematic or any more complicated than that. Just don't let them tell you no, and vote. Vote.
You're going to hear a lot about that from us until November.
I think so.
It is that important.
It's that important. Well, that's today with the Queer God Squad. We want to thank you for joining us. We're here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ plus community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's largest progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. And we are all in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.